Shalawam, shalawam. Let's give all praises, honor, glory, esteem to the Father Yahweh and His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahushai. The water for tuning in, for those that will tune in and are tuned in. Big shalawam to all of you guys. Shalawam to all the Ahchyam, the Ahchwathyam, the brothers and the sisters. Please make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. It's a little button down there on your screen, on your phone. It takes 1 second to click the thumbs up. It takes 1 second to hit the subscribe button. And we should do this for one another to help build and edify our people, that this word may go forth. So I thank you for doing those things. For those who tuned in earlier and those that are tuned in now, this is part 2 about the faith. This is part 2 about faith. Shalawam, Jenny Wood. Shalawam. Once again, this is part 2. Earlier, we was out on the highways and byways, bringing out that about the faith. But now we're in a quieter setting to where we can deliver this rest of what we have on the plate, because there's still more on the plate. I feel like it was still more meat on that bone. I don't feel like it got dissolved and put away as it should have. So now we're going to go back and get some more meat that was still on that bone and go into this word. But once again, shalom to everybody out there. I hope that you're having a beautiful Sabbath day. For those that are keeping the Sabbath day, keeping it holy, keeping it Kodash, shalom to all you guys. And giving praises, honor, and glory to our Father, the Ancient of Days, the giver of life, the taker of life, our Father Yahweh. So with that being said, we're going to go right into the scriptures. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 1. And I'm going to start with the wisdom. Proverbs 3:1. And it says, "My son, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life, and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them upon thy neck, write them upon the table of thy heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of man. Trust in Yahweh with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding." So this is where it starts about the faith when it says trust, right? Faith is putting your complete trust in the Most High Yahweh. I did not know that. I did not have that understanding at a period in time. I did not know having faith means to put your complete trust in the Most High. When something is complete, there's nothing else left. You know, when they give you a piece of paper, they give you homework, they give you a task, and you go back to whoever it is and you hand it in, or whether you go to your supervisor and you said, "I have completed that task," that means there's nothing else for you to do. Nothing else. So to put your complete trust in the Most High and His only begotten Son, mean that there's nothing else left to do. You have given everything to Him. This is why He says He's very jealous, right? So it says, "Trust in Yahweh with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths." In all your ways you shall acknowledge Him, even if you're off, even if you fell off, even if you have went astray, even if you're in error, you should still acknowledge Him. In whatever things it is that you're doing in this world, you should still acknowledge Him, because by acknowledging Him, you are saying that I still have faith in Him. By acknowledging Him, you're calling upon Him. You're asking Him to hear my petition, to hear my word. I am still acknowledging that you are the Creator. And it says, He shall direct thy paths. And it says, verse 7, "Be not wise in thy own eyes, fear Yahweh and depart from evil." The biggest part of this is be not wise in our own eyes. What does that mean? To be wise in our own eyes is to follow our own heart, our own desires, right? Which continually come up. I ask people all the time, and I have conversations with people all the time about not only their desires, but my own desires that continue to render his dirty head. And I'm like, after all of this time, why does these things still come out? Why does these things still render his head? It's because it's the flesh. And I guess this is the way the Most High set it up, that we will always have that understanding to know that we're in the flesh, and we have to always continually, on a day-to-day basis, overcome that flesh and let the spirit have the power and have dominion. And I guess that's just the way it's set up until you, I guess maybe you just walk completely in the spirit and in strength. But even then, we see our brother Paul, Kepha, which is Peter, Bartholomew, Matthew. We see that they all went through things, and they all had different, let's say, demons or elements that they were going through, even when they were out preaching the faith. So like I say, maybe that's how he has it set up. I don't know. I'm not certain about that. But be not wise in thy own eyes, fear Yahweh, and depart from evil. That's what the whole, as people would say, that's what the whole Bible, and especially the New Testament, is about. Doing what? Departing from evil, departing from wickedness, the darkness, the shadow. And now living in what? Light and righteousness. Putting our faith and trust in righteousness, in the light, which is Hamashiach Yahawashi. From there, I want to go to Romans 10. Romans chapter 10. And now I don't have to keep switching back and forth over, because we know somebody in the chat, like Jenny Wood is in there. They will let me know, and then I could just bring it up. Shalawam, once again, to everybody that is in the chat, that's watching in the chat, Shalawam. We're going to be at Romans chapter 10. Let me make sure it's sharing on the screen, Khan. So we're going to be in Romans 10, verse 1, Salakia. Romans 10, verse 1. And as you can see on the screen, it says the word of faith brings salvation. The word. Who is the word? Hamashiach Yahawashi. He is the one who brings salvation. And I really want to start at like verse 7, but for some reason through the spirit, I'm going to read it all, right? We're going to get it all. We ain't going to leave nothing on the plate today. Romans 10 and 1, it says, brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to the Most High for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to the knowledge. And this is what's going on today. Just as it was then, a lot of people have a zeal for the Most High Yahweh, but it's not according to the knowledge. People have made their own doctrine up. For example, there's a man that calls himself an Israelite. I don't know the brother's name, but when it comes to Thanksgiving and Christmas, he has a dinner, and he actually makes pork, right? A ham. Says he cooks it in Coca-Cola. And he does this every year and posts it on YouTube, right? And he says it's okay. He actually calls that day Hamashiach's Day. That's a different doctrine, right? That's a certain zeal, but not according to the knowledge, not according to the words that have been spoken through the Most High and His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? That's something different. So that knowledge that man or that group or that camp or whoever they are, that's a different knowledge. It's not the knowledge that we know that was given to us through the word of the Most High. Verse 3. For they being ignorant of Allahayam's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, like an example I just explained, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of the Most High. Right? Because otherwise, if, for example, the example that I was giving you, if they were submitting themselves to the Most High and His only begotten Son, then they wouldn't call Christmas or Thanksgiving Hamashiach's Day. They wouldn't be baking ham with Coca-Cola. They wouldn't have greens with bacon in it. You know, not beef bacon, but pork bacon, and saying it's okay, right? So they have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of the Most High. Meaning what? They don't really have true faith. They have not put their faith and trust in the righteousness of the Most High. This is what we're saying. Verse 4. If anybody has anything, let me know. For Hamashiach is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. Why does it say in verse 4, for a lot of people to get confused, for Hamashiach is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth? Why does it say that? Does anybody have any notion out there of why does it say that or state that in verse 4? Anybody? For Hamashiach is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. Why is he the end of the law? Nobody? Well, he's the end of the law because once you put your trust in him, just like he tells everybody that he heals, go and sin no more, right? So as Paul breaks down throughout his letters, throughout his epistles, when you live in righteousness, you're no longer under the law. So that's why he's the end, because when you come to him, you turn from that darkness into that light. And now you're no longer under the law. For righteousness to everyone that believeth. Because if you truly believe and you truly have faith, then like I was told years ago, if you really believe, you really trust in him, then what will you do? There's going to be a life change. There's going to be something different. You're not going to be that same person. You can't be, because before you were in darkness. Now you have been brought to the light. So there's a difference there. So that's why it's the end of the law, because you won't be under the law anymore, because you'll be walking what? In righteousness and in the spirit. And you believe. Verse 5. For Moses describeth the righteousness which is of the law. Right? He tells you the things within the law that will make you righteous. That the man which doeth these things shall live by them. Right? You will live by that law. Verse 6. But the righteousness which is of faith, right? What we're speaking about today, right? Speaketh on this wise. Say not in thy heart, who shall ascend into heaven, or the Shemayim. That is to bring Hamashiach down from above. So don't even say this in your heart. Don't ponder on it. Verse 7. Or who shall descend into the deep, that is to bring up Hamashiach again from the dead. Verse 8. But what saith it? The word is nigh thee. What does that mean? The word is very what? What does it mean when it says the word is nigh thee? Close to you. It's very close to you. So it says the word is very nigh, meaning it's very close to you, even in thy mouth. So everybody's searching for that word, but the Bible is letting us know that it's so close to us that it's in your mouth. Guess where else is at? It's in thy heart. That is the word of what? Faith. What is faith? Does anybody know what faith is? Faith is what? The substance of things that are what? Unseen. That's correct. The word of faith, which we what? Preach. This is what we're doing right now. We're preaching the word of the Most High. Through what? Faith. Of something that's unseen. I haven't seen Hamashiach Yahawashi. I haven't even seen the Father. No man on earth has seen the Father. Matter of fact, some people have seen Hamashiach Yahawashi, but nobody has seen the Father. Right? We've seen attributes of him, similitudes of him, the fire, as I said earlier, the wind, the earthquakes, the thundering, the lightning, the rumbling. Those things we've seen, but nobody has physically seen the Father. Verse 9. that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the master, Yahawah. So what must we do? We must confess with our mouth. Why do we have to confess it with our mouth? Why do we have to confess it with our mouth? Anybody? Nobody knows why we have to confess him? When you confess something, it means to what? Proclaim it, correct? And are we commanded to proclaim him in this world? Are we commanded to confess him in this world? I mean, you could be a believer.
Don't it say you're commanded to, well, not commanded, but you should be ready to
give an answer.
But it says, if thou shalt confess. It doesn't say like.
No, it doesn't say you have to say that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth. So you should. I mean, if you don't, that's on you, but you should. And shall believe in thy heart that the Most High has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. So if you do confess it and you believe in your heart that the Most High Yahweh has raised him from the dead, it says, thou shalt be saved. Verse 10, for with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confessions are made unto what? Salvation. So this is why you have to say it out of your mouth, because it's what? It's a confession. This is why in Matthew chapter 12, it says, for every idle word that comes out of your mouth is written down. You're going to be judged by what? The things that you said. This is why he said, let your yea be yea and let your nay be nay. Right? Verse 11. For the scripture saith, whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. Are you ashamed of confessing Hamashiach Yahawah? For those out there that may be watching and that may watch later, are you ashamed of confessing Hamashiach Yahawah? Are you ashamed? Are you scared at sometimes when people are around that may not be believers, that may not have the same thought that you have? Are you ashamed to speak up? Are you ashamed to have on your fringes, seats, whatever you wear? Are you ashamed to have your beard? Are you ashamed as a woman, a sister, to have your hair covered? Are you ashamed that you wear dresses and you don't have on leggings and pants and things like these other young ladies? Are you ashamed of Hamashiach Yahawah? This is what it's asking you. Verse 12. For there is no difference between Jew and the Greek. For the same master over all is rich unto all that call upon him. Right? He's rich in mercy. And if you call upon him, Paul is letting you know that he's the master of all. Right? He's the master of all. Verse 13. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the master shall be saved. So if you call upon the name Hamashiach Yahawah, of course we know the world calls Christ. I don't say the J word, right? But the anointed one, the Savior, the one who was smeared with the oil, the one who was given authority to judge. Somebody might say, well, where does it say that? I don't know that it says that he was given authority to judge. I'll show you in a minute. Just, give me a minute. But whosoever shall call upon the name of the master shall be saved. Verse 14. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? Can you cover him for me? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? So how can one believe on Hamashiach Yahushai if they never heard somebody speaking such as myself, Hamashiach Yahushai? They never heard of Hamashiach. They never heard somebody say Hamashiach. They only heard of Christ. They only heard of Christos. I believe that's the way it's said in Latin. Is it Christos or Christos? Huh? One of those. For those who speak that, you know what I'm saying. How shall they believe on him whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without what? A preacher. You know, years ago, somebody that was very dear and close to me, well, they used to call me a preacher. And they used to say reverend. I never liked that reverend, but they used to say preacher, right? Hey, preacher. And I never liked that title. And I used to say I'm not a preacher. You know, they said, well, you go out and teach, don't you? You go out and proclaim the word. I said, yeah. They said, well, then you a preacher. And I said, no. I'm just a man who goes out and tells the word. But you know what? Now I understand that I am a preacher, right? I am someone that goes out and spreads the gospel. I am someone who goes out to bring light in a place of darkness. And this is what it's saying right here. How shall they hear without a preacher? A preacher is someone that was sent. He's a messenger. That's what a preacher is. He's bringing a message to the people. Now, whether they hearken to the message or not, that's up to the Most High. But he's bringing forth that message to the people. So they can't say, just like I tell my kids all the time, that they didn't know. They know very well. Believe me, my kids know the Bible from Genesis to Revelation and in many other books of that too. So nowhere in their life, as they get older and go out into the world, they can say, well, I didn't know. So, you know, I can't be held accountable. You know, I didn't know. No, they know very well. And like I say, from Genesis to Revelation, they can go into that Bible and they can show you some things and they know the word of the Most High. This is what we're commanded to teach our children, right? But how will my kids know? How will people know? How will the ones in the world know unless what? There's a messenger sent. There's a preacher sent. Verse 15, how shall they preach except they've been sent? So this is how we know. How would that preacher or that messenger be able to preach the word of the Most High except they've been sent? The Most High sent you into this earth to bring forth the word, to preach the word and bring forth his word, bring forth that light. I always wonder what I was sent here for, what my life was supposed to be. What am I supposed to be doing? And I'm so thankful that he gave me the most glorious gift of all, not things of this world. There's so many people around me in my older days and in my upbringing were so focused on material things, but he has given me something that's not material, something that's unseen, something that's so valuable that you can't even imagine it. And all he asks from us is that we put our faith and trust, complete trust in him. Then it says right here, as it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. Now, how beautiful are the feet of them? Well, we need, especially in this time, a lot of them did a lot of walking. It wasn't as it is today where you have cars and you just travel and, you get on the road and you go see an Ak. It might take you an hour or two to get to camp or whatever. No, these brothers walked, or they had horses or camels or donkeys. So what we would do in an hour or two to get to an Ak or get to a camp or whatever, sometimes these brothers or these Ox, it took days, weeks. And sometimes they were doing it on feet, walking. So this is why it says, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. Because imagine that man walking across the desert, across wherever he is. But that very feet that are touching that ground, touching that dirt, they're bringing what? Good tidings. And they bringing good things. They're bringing light to somewhere of darkness. Verse 16. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. And we know that to be true. For Isaiah saith, Yahweh, who have believed our report? So then faith cometh by what? Hearing. This is what this whole message is about today. And this is why I say it was a little bit more left on a plate. That's why I wanted to do a part 2, because it was a little bit more left. So then faith come by hearing. So how can a person know unless you, any Ak out there that may be watching this, and sisters, I'm not saying go out in the pulpit. I'm not saying go to the highways and byways to preach, sisters. But what I'm saying is if you may know a sister at your work, at the plantation, or just someone you may know that may be wavering, that may not have the knowledge that you have, that you could share with her, or you can bring a verse to her, a scripture to her, enlighten her in some type of way. It may not be preaching, but it's still bringing that message. It's still bringing that word. It's still bringing that light to that brother or to that sister. This is why it says, so then faith cometh by hearing. You could talk to that sister. And by you talking to her as sister to sister, she may gain the faith. And she may put her trust in the Most High and His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawashi. That's what verse 17 says. So then faith come by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High. Verse 18, but I say, have they not heard? Question mark. Yes, truly. Their sound went into the earth, and the words into the ends of the world. Meaning everybody that lived on this planet Earth shall hear or know about the gospel, about the message. And some people, I know it's people that, live in places uninhabited. I can't think of that island that they found where the people, it wasn't inhabited by anybody but those people that had been there. And anybody that came there that wasn't a part of them, they would kill them, right? I can't think of the island right now. But who's to know if something washed up on their shore? Who's to know who have been there before? Do we know how long those people have been indigenous to that part or that land or that island? Huh?
Sentinel Island.
Sentinel Island? That's the name of it if you want to Google it. Sentinel Island. And those people have been indigenous for that place a long time. And they won't let anybody come onto their island. Right? So just in that format, in that way, you say, well, how will they have heard the word of the Most High? Because He is the Most High. That's why. He will get the word there. And believe me, those people have some type of faith in something. I believe that because I believe in the Most High. Just like Hebrews 1 and 2 says, we believe that the worlds, plural, was created by who? Hamashiach Yahawashi. But the world, this world that we live in, Earth, it'll tell you that it was created by a big bang. It will tell you that we came from tadpoles. It will tell you that we came first. We was monkeys, and it was evolution. We evolved over time into the species that we are now. But first we were monkeys. I don't believe that. I believe what the Bible says, that we were taken from the ground and He formed a man and He blew life into him. And then He took him and placed him in a garden and told him to watch it and keep it. And then He created a woman, and the man and the woman fell, and then they were cast out into the earth. That's what I believe. Verse 19. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation will I anger you. Verse 20. But Isaiah is very bold and said, I was found of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. But to Israel he said, all day long have I stretched forth my hands unto disobedience and gainsaying people. We have to understand that the Most High is tired of us being what? Stiff-necked. He's very tired of us being stiff-necked. All he wants us to do is turn back. This is what this whole, let me get this real quick. First Chronicles chapter 7, right? This is what he's always saying. Sorry, 2 Chronicles. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, right? The classic. Everybody knows this. What does it say? If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves. Peter says the same thing. I'll get that in a minute. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, petition, and seek my face, and turn from their what? Wicked ways. That's all the Most High wants us to do. That's all Hamashiach Yahawashi wants us to do, is turn from our wicked ways. Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. That's what he wants from us. Let's get it in Peter in the New Testament. 1 Peter 5. Right? 1 Peter 5. I'm going to start about verse 6. You see it on the screen right now. Is it sharing? Come. 1 Peter 5 and 6. It says, humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of the Most High, that he may exalt you in due time. But he keeps telling us the same thing from the old to the new. To what? Humble ourselves. What does it mean to humble yourself? What does it mean to humble yourself? To look at yourself really as nothing, right? You're more concerned about other people than you're more concerned about yourself. You're more concerned about the gospel and the Most High and his son and the widows and the fatherless. And this is something that we could continue to work on. For me personally, I was never a humble person. I was very arrogant, right? A very arrogant person, but arrogant means it's almost the same as being ignorant, right? Very self-important. That's what humble.
Humble is having or showing a modest estimate of one's value or importance.
A modest value of one importance or what? Value.
Not being arrogant.
Not being arrogant. Basically contrary, different than what I was. I was very arrogant, high-minded, right? Things of this world. Going after the things of this world. Lusting after the things of this world, which is opposite of what Peter and the Most High and all the apostles, all of the prophets is telling us. We have to humble ourselves, be modest. And then it says, then you shall be exalted in due time, not even right away, but in due time you will be exalted, casting all your care upon him, for he cared for you. Casting all your care upon him. And we care about a lot of things, but he says, casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. Meaning he's going to make a way. It might not be the way you want it to be, but he's going to make a way. Why? Because he cares for you. But then Peter says right after that, okay, yeah, you got faith. You put your trust in the Most High. You're casting all of your care upon him. Then Peter lets us know in verse 8, hey, be sober. Be vigilant. Why? Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. So we have to be sober-minded, stable, not in drunkenness all the time, vigilant, doing the work. Why? Because we have somebody, an opposer, an opponent of ours that's trying to do what? Devour us. He's trying to bring us down. Verse 9, whom resist steadfast in the what? Faith. The whole message is about what? The misunderstanding of faith. That's what this message is about. And I want people to not be misunderstood or not have the misunderstanding of what faith is. It says, whom resist steadfast in the faith, meaning putting your complete trust in who? Hamashiach Yahushua, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. So the same thing I'm going through is, believe me, some brethren that have been in this world or that in this world right now are going through some of the same similar things. And I've been going through some hammers. But I'm pretty sure some brethren out there, or Ahchwathyam, which are the sisters, that are going through something similar or the same thing or worse. But that doesn't mean that we give up. That doesn't mean that we turn our faith card in. That doesn't mean that we don't continue to put our trust in the Most High. Right? If that was the case, I wouldn't be on this live right now. If that was the case, I wouldn't have did the live the other day. I wouldn't have went out today. I just throw in the towel and say, hey, I don't have faith. But James, as we read earlier, faith without works is dead. But the Most High of all grace, verse 10, who have called us unto his eternal glory by Hamashiach Yahushua, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, established, strengthened, settle you. So, hey, who knows? I don't know if this is my time of suffer. I don't know. It could not be. It could be. It could just be something I'm going through. He may have something else at another time that I'm going to suffer great hardship. But he lets us know that we have been called to what? Eternal glory by who? Hamashiach Yahushua. And it says, after that ye have suffered. Salakia. You only get this after you have suffered. In Christianity, they just say, come on down, dunk you in the water, and you saved. And, you know, like they tell you, your best life is now. That's not the case. It says, after that ye have suffered a while. What is a while? That doesn't mean a week, 2 weeks. That could be years. Then he gonna make you perfect, establish you and strengthen you and settle you. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Ahchwathyam, right? So there's a lot going on here that we have to understand. A lot going on here. I want to go to the book of Psalms real quick. Psalms 46. Let me see it on the screen for those tuning in. We're going to be in the book of Psalms, chapter 46, right? It says, Psalms 46:1, the Most High is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Selah. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of the Most High, the Kodash place or holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. The Most High is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. The Most High shall help her, and that right early. Verse 6. The heathen regard, or what does that mean? The heathen raged, if I'm not mistaken. The kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice. The earth melted. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Most High of Jacob, or the power of Jacob, is our refuge. Selah. The reason I'm reading this is because we have to understand, just as well as I always go back to it for myself, because sometimes living in the world, day-to-day things, like I say, things do happen, things do occur. You may get emotional, you may have feelings, but we have to always settle ourselves and go to the spirit, go to the mind, and realize, as it says, Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Most High Yahweh is with us. The power of Jacob is our refuge. There's nowhere else to run to. There's nowhere else to go to. There's nobody else to ask for help. You ask the Most High for help. You petition to him for help. Why? Because he is our refuge. That's what it says in verse 7. Verse 8. Come, behold the works of Yahweh, which are in desolations. He made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Verse 10. Be still, and know that I am the Most High. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Most High of Jacob is our refuge. And this is something that we have to realize and put our trust in. This is the reason why I wanted to read this, is because we must put our trust in the Most High Yahweh. As long as we in the book of Psalms, let me get the classic real quick. Psalms 119. And I love to go to this. I showed the younger brother the other day when we was on the live, and he was like, these scriptures are convicting me. This is Psalms 119, verse 9. And it says, wherewith shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to thy word. So this is how we cleanse ourselves. This is how we cleanse our way, is what? According to thy word. With my whole heart have I sought thee. He didn't say some of it. This is what faith is, right? Putting your complete trust, as it says right here, with my whole heart have I sought thee. He sought the Most High with his whole heart, and let me not wander from thy commandments. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. Exalted art thou, or blessed art thou, O Yahweh. Teach me thy statutes. With my lips have I declared all the judgments of thy mouth. He proclaimed it. I have rejoiced in the way of thy testimonies, as much as in all riches. Verse 15, Salakia. I will meditate in thy precepts and have respect unto thy ways. I will delight myself in thy statutes. I will not forget what? Thy word. He will not forget it. Why won't he forget it? And then I'll go out of Psalms. We write in Psalms 19, right? And I'm going to start at about verse 7, right? Psalm 19 and 7. It says, thy law, or the law of Yahweh, is perfect, converting the soul. So once we turn to the Most High Yahweh, we put our faith and complete trust in the Most High Yahweh. It says it will do what? Convert the soul. This is what Paul is talking about in Romans 12. Thy testimony of Yahweh is sure, making wise the simple. He has made me a very wise man. Very, very wise man. Right? Verse 8. The statutes of Yahweh are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. Verse 9. The fear of Yahweh is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yahweh are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yeah, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping them there is a great reward. What reward is that? The reward is to get to the kingdom. The reward is to get your crown, the palms in your hand. But in order to do these things, you must have complete faith, right? You must have complete faith. I said this is what Paul has said. Let me go to Romans real quick, Romans 12, because I spoke on that. And as you can see in Romans 12, dedicated service, right? Romans 12:1, it says, I beseech you. The word beseech means to beg. So he's saying, I beg you, therefore, brethren, Ahchyam, by the mercies of the Most High, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. So Paul is begging us as his brethren, believers, to do what? Present our bodies as living sacrifices, holy, which means to be set apart, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service, right? It's your reasonable service. Verse 2, and be not conformed to this world. Let's click on that, right? New Living Translation, you can see it on the screen. It says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, right? So Paul is telling us, if you have faith, if you're putting your complete trust in Hamashiach Yahawashi, right? To what? Sacrifice your body. That's your reasonable service. And then he says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let the Most High transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know Elohim's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect, right? Even in the NIV, it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world. ESV, do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed, right? So we see it in multiple different versions when we do the comparative text, what it's really going into. Verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. This is what he's not only asking us to do, because remember it says in verse 1, I beseech you, which means to beg. He's basically begging us to make sure that we do this for our good, that we may enter into the kingdom. Let me see this, 2 Timothy chapter 4, right? And I'm not going to read all of this, but for those who know, this is about preach the word, right? We have been charged. Maybe I'll just read it. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. I charge thee, therefore, before the Most High and our Master, Yahawashi HaMashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead, meaning the living and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. Verse 3, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itchy ears. And we know that this is just what was going on, is going on to this every day. This is not good. I know people, it's not good to live a multitude of different, because if you're not stable, then you could be this way. And they'll turn away their ears from the truth and she'll turn on what? Fables. This is why you want to make a solid foundation. Not, you will be turned to all types of things, and who knows what you need to. As Paul said, fables, right? A lot of people believe, just like them the giants, that they was laying down with the angels, women was laying down with angels, and all of these type of things. And this is a doctrine in the world. People believe that, especially when they read the book of Enoch, right? Verse 5, but watch thou in all things, endure affliction. There it is again, we have to endure affliction. Do the work of an evangelist, right? Make full proof thy ministry. This is what we're doing here today. Verse 6, for I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. Paul knew he was about to get murdered, killed, and leave this earth. Verse 7, I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. And this is why I said I was just going to go to verse 7, but I didn't read it all. He says, I have done what? I have kept the faith. Meaning Paul is stating here, he has put his complete trust in Hamashiach Yahushai and in the Father. His complete trust. He so much in the trust, so much he said, I fought the good fight. I have finished my course. And this is the reward that we were just speaking about earlier. Henceforth, there is laid up for me a what? Crown. That's your reward. A crown of righteousness, which the master, the righteous judge, Salakia, shall give me at that day. And not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. If you're waiting on his appearing, Hamashiach, the anointed one, and you're doing the work, and you have true faith and putting your complete trust in Hamashiach, then Paul says you have a crown that will be laid up for you. You will receive this, right? This is what he's speaking about here. Ezra speaks about the same thing. Let me go into the Apocrypha a little bit. Let me see if anybody. Oh, it's a lot of chats in there. Oh, just you? Somebody was in there. God. Heaven is the water, my kingdom. Her on earth, huh? Here on earth, Salakia. Oh, it's just you guys. Okay. Shalawam Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. All praises. Okay, let me go into the Apocrypha. Let me share my screen with the Apocrypha real quick. I want to go into the Apocrypha a little bit. And we're going to go to Second Ezra real quick. Second Ezra in the Apocrypha in the 1611 King James Bible. I'm going to go to chapter 7 real quick. Actually, I'm going to go to 8 and then jump back to 7, right? And you see it on the screen. This is Second Ezra in the 1611 King James Bible. In verse 1, it says, he answered me saying, this is the angel talking to Ezra. It's sharing, right? It's lagging. Okay, I'll wait. Make sure everybody's on there. Second Ezra chapter 8, verse 1. I want to make sure you guys on there. Okay, Khan. And it says, he answered me saying, the Most High have made this world for many, but the world to come for few. So these are insights that we're getting from a revelation from an actual angel or a malak speaking to Ezra, right? Huh? This is chapter 8, verse 1. Now, verse 3 says, there be many created, but few shall be saved, right? So we see a lot of people on the earth that say that they are believers, but does that mean that they will all be saved? So we see this revelation that we're getting from Ezra that it says, once again, there be many created, but few shall be saved, right? So now I want to go back to the previous chapter, which is chapter 7. Chapter 7. And we're going to jump down to the classic. I'm going to start about verse 56, I believe. Let me see. Let me make sure. Yeah, right. Verse 56 is where I want to start. This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 7, verse 56. It says, for while we lived and committed iniquity, which is sin, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle which man that is born upon earth shall fight. So we have something for any man or woman that is born in the earth, right? There's a battle that's set before us. You may not realize it and you may not know it when you're born into the earth, but this is why I say we're getting revelation right here of this conversation between a prophet, a priest, and an angel. And the angel is basically letting him know that there's a condition, there's a battle, right? For every man that is born upon this earth that we live, that you're going to have to fight this battle, right? Verse 58 says that if he be overcome, meaning you are overcome with your sin and you live in your sin, you give up on yourself and you're overcome by the very flesh, it overpowers you. He shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, what Paul just spoke about, what we just read in 2 Timothy 4:1 all the way down, Paul said he fought the good fight. He has finished his course. The last part that we read, he said he has kept the faith. Therefore, it said, henceforth, what? He shall get his reward, which is what? The crown. Ezra is speaking about the same thing. The angel right here, the Malak, is speaking about the same thing right here. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say, which is that crown. You will make it into heaven. You will make it into the kingdom. 59. For this is the life whereof Moses spake unto the people while he lived, saying, choose life that thou mayest live. Nevertheless, they believed not him, nor yet the prophets after him, no, nor me, which spoken unto them. Verse 61, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction. I'm not going to be sad. I'm not going to be crying, boo-hooing. There's not going to be anything heavy on my heart for their destruction. As shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. How were they persuaded? We read it earlier in Romans 10, that messenger, that preacher, he went out to give what? Good tidings. He went out to preach the word. They heard the word. For those who have an ear to hear, let them hear. They heard the word. The Spirit bare witness to them. They started to gain the knowledge of the Most High. They started to change their life. They laid down their body, as Paul said, Romans 12, and became what? That body became a sacrifice to the Most High to see what was pleasing and acceptable unto him. And then they started to do what? Renew their mind. And then they started to what? Not be conformed to this world. not to follow the actions or the customs, as it says, of this world. Why? So they can receive the crown, right? And it's another parable in this exact same verse, but it's in the beginning. Let's go all the way back up. We're still in chapter 7. I feel that it's imperative to read this. Let me see. I'm trying to find exactly where it is. Let me go back up. Okay. I'll start at verse 3. And I said, speak on. Then said he unto me, the sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. But put the case of the entrance were narrow and like a river. Who then could go to through the narrow? How could he come unto the broad? There is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. What city is this? This is the new city, Jerusalem, in the kingdom. The entrance thereof is narrow, just like Hamashiach Yahushua spoke about in Matthew chapter 7, right? Verse 13 on down. Straight is the way, right? Narrow is the way, but broad is the way that leads to what? Destruction. Same thing, right? 7 and 7 in 2nd Ezra. The entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall. Like as there is fire on the right side, on the right hand, and left a deep water. So what do we see here? This entrance is narrow and it's set in a dangerous place. It's fire on the right hand, and on the left, there's deep water. What dangerous place is this? Earth, where we live right now. And it's fire on one side. The fire will do what? It will burn you. And then on the left side is water, deep water, that you what? May drown. Verse 8. And only, Salakia, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could be, but one man go there at once. So this path is so narrow that only one man at a time can go through this path, right? And this is what we have to understand, what we're living in. Ezra is breaking it down for us to be able to see. And this is how we should live our life, that is fire on one side and water on another side. And we need to stay in what? That straight line. Verse 9. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? She says, yes, that's true. Right? What is our inheritance? This city, which is the kingdom. But it says, how can we receive that if we never go through the dangerous part? The dangerous part is what? This earth that we live in. You have something? Go ahead. Verse 9. Go ahead.
That's like how people, they don't want to, they stay to themselves and they live away from
people. Stay to themselves. Yep.
Or they live away from people.
Or they live away from everybody. Go ahead.
They're not really learning nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not put in situations where you have to learn.
Are you talking about those people that live like in real remote areas,
yeah.
Like there's nobody around, but they believers, but yeah, they're not in the situation.
Like they tend to themselves
Right.
You know, like
Right.
kind of like if you remove yourself from somewhere, then you figure that you don't have to deal with no problems.
Right.
You don't have
Right.
to. But
You
then you
taking
also,
yourself out of the equation,
right,
and you're like, I'm a believer, but I'm gonna move way out here by myself. Right. So there is no, as it was saying in this verse right here, there is no danger because there's nothing around.
right. But this verse is saying, how can you receive the inheritance of something if you don't even
Go through
pass
those.
the test to go through something?
Right. 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 How shall you receive this inheritance if you don't go through that danger? Right.
Yeah.
How shall you receive it? And that's the question at hand. How will you receive the kingdom if you don't go through the danger? If you don't go out and proclaim the word? If you don't stand up for the word? Right? How are you, as Paul just said when we just read this in 2 Timothy 4 on down, 1 on down, he says, I fought the good fight. Right? What does it mean to fight a good fight? You have to be in the fight. He just didn't get somewhere way out in a remote area and just lay and stay there until he was about to die. No, he was in the city. He was in the synagogues. So much so that they had to cast him out to where they was looking to kill him in every city that he went to. Why? Because he was proclaiming the truth. He was in the danger zone, as we would call it. See, some people want to be safe, right? They don't want to be in the danger zone. They don't want to be in the hot zone. But it's saying here in Ezra, how will you be able to receive your inheritance if what? You don't go through the danger, the water, right? How shall he receive this inheritance? Verse 10. And I said, it is so, master. Then said he unto me, even so also is Israel's portion, because for their sakes, in verse 11, because for their sakes I made the world. So the Most High, through his angel, is speaking to Ezra, letting us know, here's another revelation. He made the very world that we are living in right now. He made it for who? Israel's sake. And then he goes into details and says, and when Adam transgressed my statute, meaning Adam sinned against the word that I commanded him, then was decreed that now is done. So when Adam transgressed or sinned against the commandment that was given to him, then the world that we live in and how we see things in the evil and the danger that's in the world, it was decreed right then and there, right? Adam didn't know that. He didn't know that everything was going to befall us all these years later. He just thought it was for who? Him and Eve. Goes into more detail. This is why I say it's good to have this book, because it's revealing all these things that we didn't get in Genesis, right? Verse 12, entrance is multiple entrances, because this is plural. It would just say entrance of this world made narrow. So now this world is made narrow, full of what? Sorrow and travail. So now it's full of sorrow. Sorrow is sadness, right? So now it's full of sadness. It's full of travail, huh? Sadness and hardship. That's what the word sorrow, the definition of that is. And travail, right? Hardship. So you're gonna go through things. So when I reach this out to me, or I reach out to Ak and I say, man, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, they weighing on me heavy. The reason this is going on and the reason this is happening is because Adam transgressed the Most High statute. And then the Most High decreed this in verse 11, which is done now, that this sorrow and travail will come upon us. They that are but few and what? Evil. These days are but few. Why? We only live up to about, I'll stretch it, 80. right? The average person, 80. I'll stretch it, which is a stretch because most people only live to about 60 something, 70. But I'll stretch it to 80. So he says, what are but few, and in few days, but evil, right? Because of the days that we're living in, they're very evil. They're very stressful. You're going through so many things that is weighing you down. And very what? Painful. This life that we live in now is very painful. You know, your body hurt as you get older. You can't walk like you used to. You can't jump like you used to. You know, the economy, the bills, the presidents, you know, all these new laws they passing, it just weighs you down. It's just stressful. Why? Well, because you're children of Israel. You're a believer. You believe in Hamashiach Yahushua. You believe in his father, Yahweh. So this is what's made narrow for you. And how do we know this? Verse 13 tells us, for the entrance of the elder world, meaning the world how it used to be before Adam transgressed, it was wide and sure. So they didn't have to go through all these things. They didn't endure what we are enduring now at this present time. And it lets us know that because it's being revealed here in 2nd Ezra 7 and 13. It's telling us, though the entrance of the elder world, the old world, it was wide and it was sure and brought what? Immortal fruit. What a good time it was to live in that world that brought forth what? Immortal fruit. Huh? And that's where we're trying to get back to right now. Verse 14. If then they that live labor not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. Right? So yeah, this kind of goes into what we was reading earlier in the book of James, where he said in James 2 and 14 on down, if you haven't read the book of James, I encourage you to go back and read James chapter 2 and 14 on down. This kind of goes into that where he says that what? Show me your faith without works, and I'll show you my faith by my works. Meaning he's here on this earth. He know that you have to walk a narrow and straight path. So he's laboring to do what? Enter these straight and vain things that he can receive what? The things that are laid up for him. This is why we're commanded to celebrate the Sabbath day. While we're sitting here going over scripture on the Sabbath day, right? It's other people out here in the world that are not doing that. There's other people out here in the world that are living and doing other things of the custom of this world that they're partaking in right now. So they're not in a what? Narrow path. They're in a very wide path. But that path is going to lead them where? To destruction. Right? We were commanded not to eat pork, crab, shrimp, lobsters, mussels, all these things, so we don't partake in those things. Why? Because he has set up a very narrow path for us. This is why we don't partake in them things. But there's a lot of people in this world that were created that partake in those things. Right? Those people are not living in a narrow path, in a narrow way. It's even so narrow to where the Most High, and I was thinking about this the other day, he's even concerned about the clothing that we have on. When people say it don't matter, you know, this or that, it does matter. Because he told us don't even wear anything that has mixed fabric. No clothing that has what? Mixed, or as it says in the Torah, woven, mixed fabric that is woven together. So, you know, you can't have wool and cotton put together. You can't have cotton and what do they use a lot today? Polyester. So if you look on the label and it say 90% polyester or 90% cotton and 10% polyester, can you wear that? Not if you're a believer and you're walking the narrow path. You cannot have on mixed fabric. Everything must be 100% of what it is. Now, if your shirt is 100% polyester and your shorts are 100% cotton, can you wear that day? Well, as long as they're not woven together, yes. Your shirt is 100% polyester and your pants are 100% cotton. Long as it's 100%. He even goes into detail about how you plant your vineyard or how you plant your field. That you can have mixed seeds. So he goes into great detail to do what? Set us on a very straight and narrow path. Let me move on. Verse 15. Now, therefore, why disquiet thyself, or disquiet thou thyself, seeing thou art but a corruptible man? We're just corruptible. And why art thou moved, whereas thou art but mortal? Verse 16. Why hast thou not considered in thy mind this thing that is to come, rather than that which is present? A lot of times, people today don't consider what's to come, right? That's why the Bible says better to be in the house of mourning than in a house of myrrh. Because when you're in a house of myrrh, myrrh means to be having a good time, laughing and giggling and having fun and joking around. And that's myrrh. But the Bible says it's better to be in a house of mourning. Because when you're in a house of mourning, people take things serious. They're crying. They feel sadness. Nobody's joking around then. Nobody's having fun. This is a real serious time. And this is what he's trying to establish here to let us know, listen, this is really serious. This life that you're living, it's a battle. And this is how you're going to, as it said earlier, what I read, either you're going to get the victory or you're going to be overcome. We have been lied to and deceived not to realize this is the battle that we're facing here on this planet Earth. This will determine your eternal livelihood, where you're going to be. If people really realized that and knew that, they would live their life here on earth in a different manner. But they don't believe it, or neither do they understand it. Because if you knew all of the sins that you were committing and laying up doing, if you knew that this was going to get you to damnation, lake of fire, and you was going to be in torment for the rest of your eternal life, but yet you had a chance to be in paradise, to live somewhere nice, to live somewhere good, and not be in eternal fire or damnation or hurt and pain and torment, of course you will live life here in a narrow path. But the problem is that people don't believe. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. But yet, as the Bible says, knowing very well that you will die one day. You're going to die. It's set up. You're getting older now. Verse 16, why hast thou not considered in thy mind this thing that is to come, rather than what is present? Then answered I and said, right? And now he's about to go into some other stuff about how I'll read it. Then answered he and said, O master, thou bearest rule, or Yahweh bearest rule, thou hast ordained in thy law that the righteous should inherit these things. So only the righteous will inherit these things, but that the ungodly shall what? Perish. Verse 18, nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things and hope for why? For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the why. Verse 19, and he said unto me, there is no judge above the Most High, and none that have understanding above the highest. So he is the, as we would call it, the all be all. There's nobody that has greater understanding than our Father Yahweh, the Ancient of Days, the Shaddai Allah, for those who know Hebrew, which is the Almighty, right? Verse 20, for there be many that perish in this life. As I said earlier, there are many people that die. Perish means to die in this life because they despise the law of the Most High that is set before them, right? They despise it. They feel that it's worthless. What's that movie? Despicable, right? That it has no value to them. Verse 21. For the Most High have given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should do to observe what? To avoid punishment. So when we see a fellow believer or someone who calls themselves a Christian, and you tell that Christian, brother, sister, the Bible says that we should not eat pork. And they tell you, well, Peter had a vision. And he said in that vision that we can eat pork. Don't call anything what? Unclean that the Most High has called clean. This is where they get that from, right? Well, who would you rather believe? What Peter said or what the Most High said when he says, thus shalt not eat? I'm going to put my money on the Most High. Even if Peter did have that vision, I'm still going to put my money on the Most High because why? The Most High gave that commandment. And he said, I am not a man that I should lie, and I never change. And if he's all knowing, just as it just said right here, let me go back up real quick, verse 19, this would contradict the Most High. Verse 19 says, and he said unto me, there is no judge above the Most High, and none that have understanding above the highest. So why would he tell us something and then turn around and change his mind or change it, said, no, you know what? You can eat it. It's okay. That would contradict the Most High. That would mean that he's not all knowing then. He changes his mind. That would mean he doesn't have the understanding that you think he has. Why? Because he said one thing at one time and then he kind of changed his mind later. Which we call those people what? Unstable. So for 20 years, you told me I couldn't eat pork. But then after 20 years, now you get a revelation or, I come to the Most High, you say, no, you know what? Now you can eat it. It's okay. So what was the difference 20 years ago? Pork is still pork. Crab is still crab. It's even worse now because the ocean is more filthier than it was then. So if anything, it's worse off now than it was then because you didn't have as much pollution as you have today back then. Anyway, just to kind of give you that example. Verse 21, once again, for the Most High have given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Once again, nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him and imagined vain things and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not, and knew not his ways, which I spoke about earlier when we was out there. Those people are called atheists, agnostic, and also you have certain believers, the ones that don't believe the whole entire word. What the angel is saying right here to Ezra, that they what? They knew not his ways. Like I started off this lesson, that they have a different knowledge. They have a different doctrine. That's not the doctrine of the Most High. That's not the knowledge, as we started off earlier in Romans 10. That's not the knowledge of the Most High. They didn't know his ways. That's why it says, many on that day shall come to me and say, Master, Master, right? And he's going to say, depart from me. Those who what? Work iniquity. Iniquity is lawlessness. meaning they did not keep his word, his law, statute, and commandments. Verse 24, but his law have they despised and denied his covenants. In his statutes have they not been faithful and have not performed his works. And therefore, Ezra, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are full things. Behold, the time shall come that these tokens which I have told thee shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear, and she coming forth shall be seen, that now is withdrawn from the earth. And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. For my son, Yahushua, shall be revealed with those that be with him. And they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. And after these years shall my son Hamashiach die, and all men that have life. And the world shall be turned unto old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgments, so that no man shall remain. And after 7 days, the world that yet awaketh not shall be raised up, Salakia, raised up, and that shall die that is corrupt. And the earth shall restore those, talking about the resurrection, that are asleep in her. And so shall the dust, those that dwell in silence, and the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. People that were buried, murdered, killed, way out, that people don't even know. So many people, kidnapped, raped, murdered, stashed somewhere, buried in the back of somebody's house. Nobody never knew where they were buried. All of those people are going to come out, no matter where they at. This is why I say the secret places. It's a lot of people that wasn't buried in a right way. A lot of things happen in life, right? Verse 33, and the Most High shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away, and long suffering shall have an end, but the judgment only shall remain. Truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong. Now, this is the judgment of the Most High. This is not the judgment that you want to see. This is the Most High's judgment. But that faith that we've been speaking about all day, it shall wax what? Strong. And the work shall flow, and the reward shall be shewed. And the good deeds shall be of force, and the wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Then said I, Abraham prayed first for the Sodomites, and Moses for the fathers that sinned, right? And then he goes, I'm going to stop right there because he goes into a bunch of people that prayed for other people while they was on earth, right? But if you continue to read, he will say that, this is not the end, right? And those people that were praying for those people, they had more faith and they had more understanding. So they prayed for those who lacked and didn't have that faith, who didn't have that understanding. But hopefully you can kind of understand what I've been saying this whole time and what this whole lesson has been about. Do you really understand what faith is, right? Do you really understand what it is? Let me get this last one before we get ready to close out. I'm going to go to the book of Luke, chapter 17, real quick. Luke, chapter 17.
What?
17.
Luke chapter 17?
Yeah. Luke 17 and verse 5, right? Luke 17 and 5. And the apostle said unto the master, increase our faith, right? This is what we should be asking for, to increase your faith. This is what we should be asking for. Why? Because the apostles asked for it, and these were apostles, but yet they were asking the master, Hamashiach Yahushua, to do what? Increase their faith. And the master said, if ye have faith as a grain of a mustard seed. Ye might say unto this sycamore, or what is no, that's not sycamore. What is it? We should increase our faith. We should pray to the Most High. To increase our faith. Chapter 13.
I see his face, and then I comment and subscribe. I see it now too.
Got me. Okay, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Huh?
Oh, there it is.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. And then it says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part. So we only know in part right now. But then shall I know even as I am now or known, right? Basically what it's saying, we only know in part. We don't know some things in part. Let me do a comparison real quick. Yeah. Verse 13, if it's possible, to verse 13, you see it right here. It says, and now by faith, hope, charity, these three, the grace of all, but this deed charity, right? So it's the charity. He by faith, hope, and charity for Paul right now. Right. Verse when he was a child, put away those child things, right? He stopped child things. And what? Chose to give honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh. Live for the Most High Yahweh, right? So that I'm getting you out here. So tuning in. For those that tune in, hopefully this is edifying for you. Hopefully from, you know, like you get bit off it. And if you email me. Shabbat shalom. You have the rest of the Saturday. Shalawam. Shalawam.